Hey, this is Ruth Hartunian-Alaba, otherwise known as Ravings and Cravings. I am here at, tell me the name of the place, get the formal name.
Yeah, it's V3 Gun Dogs and Canine Academy.
This is going to be very exciting. I've been waiting for this for months, and we finally nailed down Jeremy Cormier, who is the owner of this place, to talk to us about dogs and how he feeds them and trains them. But before that, I need to give a shout out on the station for Elm Discount Package Store. Thank you for sponsoring this program. Thanks to WILI 1400 AM, 95.3 FM for letting me talk to the community and bring out the best of what's around us. So, speaking of what's around us, let's get the name of the academy, the location, and also phone number and social media presence.
Yeah, sure. So the full business name is V3 Gun Dogs and Canine Academy. This particular location at 42 Natchog Street in Willimantic, we call the Canine Academy.
Oh, do you have more than one location?
We do our hunting dog location at Lebanon.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
We have
Okay.
a 40-acre farm there that we train our hunting dogs at.
Okay.
But we do have a social media presence on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, V3 Gun Dogs and Canine Academy. And our website is www.v3gundogs.com.
Okay, so you guys, we're here recording in the space where all of the creatures are. So if you hear things in the background, there's a good reason why. We have a mic plugged in. Oh, and now they're quiet.
Now they're quiet.
Oh, why?
They knew the interview was getting serious now.
Wow.
They
So
feel the energy through the door.
do you think that they do you think they see a treat in their future?
Yeah, maybe some food, some dog food
Some
coming.
food. Yeah, let's talk about food. What do you feed these creatures here?
So for the kennel and for my personal dogs, we feed a brand called a Nook Shunk. It's a brand out of Canada. It's a very dense kibble. They have multiple arrays of protein and fat balances, as well as like a marine blend. And for me, I'm trying to find something that, for my dogs, that they could sustain their weight, their mental stability, physical condition, because they're all working dogs. And that's the same food that we feed in our kennel for any dogs that are boarded with us.
Oh, so you board also besides train.
Correct, yeah. So we do boarding, we do daycare, as well as training.
So how did you happen upon this kind of food? Like trial and error? I mean, what were your
Yeah.
experiences? Tell us about that.
We've been through everything and anything. Like every time I walked into a new dog store, the owner would recommend something else. And my belief over 10 years of doing this by myself with my own dogs, I've never really found, I would say, the perfect dog food, other than one, which would be raw, like strictly raw diet.
Like raw, what kind of things?
It would be anything between like raw meat, chicken, fish, vegetables, for vitamins and whatnot. But when I had the chance to feed my dogs a raw diet, that's probably when I saw the best out of them.
Interesting.
But it is a much more expensive
Oof,
way of
I
feeding.
bet.
Yeah. We own a lot of dogs ourselves, so trying to sustain that many dogs on a raw diet is pretty hard.
Yeah.
That's why kibble tends to be a much more financially sustainable food for the dogs and for people. But finding a kibble that is something equal to raw diet is very hard.
So define, what does the word kibble really mean?
Kibble would be like a processed food that is condensed into a small round bite size food. That would be something that we would call a kibble.
So certain human foods could be called kibble then?
I'm sure if we
But
find
it's
something.
only for the animal world, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, kibble is related to the animal world. But yeah, it's like a dehydrated type of food that a bunch of minerals and vitamins are added to it.
Interesting. Well, I sometimes when I watch a movie, there's all these ads, and there's these ads for this fresh product that you get in a plastic pouch, and
Yeah, I
it's
think it's
not
like farmer's
something
dog or something like that.
I mean, that wouldn't be considered kibble, would it?
No, and I've had a bunch of clients come to me with that farmer's diet style food, which is what they would claim to be like fresh food.
Right. That's exactly what they
Cooked
say.
food in a pouch, and it comes in frozen, and you have to defrost it and put it in your dog's food bowl. My thoughts on it, I'm not really like, I wouldn't say I'm in favor of it, but I'm also not in favor of it because I've
Okay.
never really seen anything bad come out of that type of a food. And from what I can tell, I think from how the websites operate and how they choose a diet for your dog, it's very dependent on each dog, and then they specify what your dog's diet plan should look like based on activity levels, breed, size, whether they're overweight or underweight.
Interesting.
You
Yeah.
know, those diets obviously can get expensive too,
Oh yeah.
from what I
Yeah.
hear from my clients that use them.
I think it's probably about as good as people food too. I mean,
Essentially, that's what it
it's
is.
what it
From
is.
from
Yeah.
what it look, I mean, it looks like a mush of people
It
food, but yeah,
does. Yeah.
it's very similar to people food. And I would say like dieting in general,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to dogs and humans, it's very similar.
Yeah. Well, what kind of breeds of dog do you see here, and which are the training ones, and which are the ones that are just for the fun of it?
Yeah, so I mean, we deal with an array of dogs. If you were to go into our kennel now, we have everything from Belgian Malinois, German Shepherds, down to little doodles. So we deal with everything and anything as far as training and boarding goes. On the training aspect, I would say 90% of our business right now is behavior modifications. So anything that has to deal with reactivity, confidence issues, aggression, just fear, confidence problems. That I would say is probably 90% of what our business is made off of. And then the other 10% is mixed between hunting dogs and just basic obedience.
Are any of those training techniques transferable to other creatures?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, I mean, I'll do something for a cookie.
yeah, right. Like
Who wouldn't?
we own, my family owns horses, and the 3 horses that we have on our property. I would say, you know, when you handle dogs, it's very similar to how you handle any other animal. You know, it's
Really?
very. You can use food a lot with dog training, a lot more than what is being used or should being used. Dogs value food a lot. You know, there's 3 things dogs need in life to survive, and it's love, water, and food. You know, so if you can give them all those 3 things, they're going to be very successful animals. But if you can utilize one of those and build a lot of value in their life, for me, it's using their food. I'm not willing to retain water from a dog, and love. We give dogs love throughout the day, so we can't really take that away from them either, right? But food can become very valuable for an animal, especially when you're talking about predators that have to hunt for their meals typically. And genetically speaking, when you have a dog, genetically speaking, they are predators. So if you can utilize something that a predator values in life, which is food because they need to survive, you can get a lot of work out of the dog.
So, were you always a dog person? Was this like always in your DNA kind of thing, or what were you doing before? Like, I don't know, were you flipping burgers somewhere or what?
I wouldn't say it was like in my DNA, but I grew up around it. My uncle, who I call my uncle, he's more of a family friend, but we had a kennel in Rocky Hill with short-haired pointers, English pointers, and setters. So he had a hunting kennel, and he trained hunting dogs. And every Tuesday and Thursday, he'd pick me up, and we would go sit at the field, and I'd
Nice.
watch him train dogs since I was a kid. So that kind of tapped into that portion of my brain and the love for dogs, and my passion for hunting. And then when I became a police officer in 2012, I bought my first hunting dog, which was a Vizsla, and his name was James. I would say he's the one endeavor of training dogs. The breeder, Carol Phelps out of Marlborough, Connecticut, sent me a lot of clients of hers, and then my name kind of just got around, and you know, one thing led to another. I retired off the job, and I'm training dogs full time now.
Wow. What's a Vizsla? I never heard of that breed.
Vizslas are Hungarian pointers, so they kind of
Oh.
look like Weimaraners, but they are golden color instead of gray. They have the same body structure and type that a Weimaraner would have. They're a little bit on the smaller side of a Weimaraner, but it's pretty much the same thing, but in gold.
Is that a short hair?
They're short hair, yep. Yep, they're a short hair dog. And
Yeah, way back when I was a high school student, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. One of the things that was on the table was to be a veterinarian.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, I wanted to specialize in just taking care of dogs.
Nice.
Only dogs, because I really didn't like cats. I don't like cats. But now that I'm a cat grandmother, I can't say that anymore. So I have to be, I have to be kind.
That's understandable.
I have grand cats, but that never made it. I never made it to the veterinary medicine. My daughter thought she would, and then she shadowed a vet for a day, and that was enough to
Enough.
say no, not going to do that. So
Yeah, and we work very closely with Colchester Veterinarian Hospital. A couple of their vets are clients and friends of ours, and we have a very good relationship with them. But even just dealing with them over the past 5 years, my friend David Bush, one of the vets there, I don't envy anything that has to do with that job. It's very tough. I would say it's probably harder than being a police officer dealing with people's animals. It's a different I would say it's a different emotion that people bring to the table when it's their dogs. I would even say for some people it's different when but comparable to dogs versus humans. Like I know myself, I love my dogs more than people. So when
Why
something,
is that?
yeah, I don't know.
Tell me why. I want to know.
Maybe because they don't upset me. I don't know, but
Well, and they're always happy to see you.
always happy.
They just expect simple things like food and love, right?
Exactly, the three things that
The
they
three
need to
things.
survive.
The three
So
things.
yeah, they're just more simple. They're simpler than humans. You know, they don't need much other than your presence.
Even the female dogs are simpler.
I mean, I would say
They're
yeah.
not so complicated.
No, they're not. They actually are much more mature than the male dogs, believe it or not.
No, that I would believe. That I would believe.
They mature a lot quicker than male dogs. I can say that from experience. At least my dogs, I can see a huge difference between my females and males. The females tend to mature a lot quicker than the males do.
So when you were on the police force, did you have a dog?
I did not. I was in the process of becoming a handler, and my current dog, Athena, I was planning on donating to my agency, and then that's when I decided to retire. So then I transitioned her from patrol-style training to sport training. So we got involved with a sport called French Ring, which locally there's a gentleman in Andover, Scott Beebe, that is very well known in French Ring. And then we transitioned over to another sport called PSA, which is personal protection sports.
Okay, well, I've never heard of what is French ring.
French Ring is a European-based sport. It's very handler and dog-oriented, and it's a competition. Basically, the decoy tests the dog in bite work, and there's a lot of obedience and a lot of agility involved in that sport. And PSA is a protection style sport. I would say it's very dog friendly. They're not testing the dog as much as they would be in French Ring. I'm sure if my colleagues listen to this, they're probably going to call me and yell at me about the differences in the sports, but that's my personal opinion. My wife, Shay, is involved in French Ring now with one of her puppies. I've kind of moved away from the sport a little bit just because I've been really busy here training other people's dogs rather than mine.
Are you breeding them at all?
We
Do you
do
that?
breed Belgian Malinois.
And why'd you choose that breed?
Well, you know, it was Athena was my first Belgian Malinois that I've owned, and she opened up a door that I don't think any other dog could have opened for me. She was a very hard dog to train, and it tested me and my abilities. I had a lot of help with her, locally as well as, you know, out of state, but I learned a lot from her, and that she's kind of made me who I am today as a dog trainer too, and trying to understand drives. But for some reason, you know, personally, I just feel like they're the Lamborghini of dogs.
Interesting.
They're kind of like your German Shepherds, but much more agile, much more harder. They think a lot quicker than a Shepherd would, whereas Shepherds tend to be a little bit more methodical, a little bit slower. They take things into account, whereas a Malinois like, you want me to jump 30 feet? Fine, I'll jump 50, you know? So
And don't shepherds have like some hip issues? Don't they have that dysplasia thing
there
going
is, but I
on,
think
or-
that's in every breed, and honestly, it's because there's so much overbreeding as well as lack of good diets, you know. So, you know, I think that's a big component to the issues that you see genetically with spinal issues or DM in shepherds, hip dysplasias, elbow dysplasias, heart conditions. So, you know, I think that's across the board as far as breeds go. I don't think it's specific to shepherds, but they are more prone
They're prone
than,
to it.
yeah, than Malinois would be, I would say, for sure.
And do you remember when up at Yukon they used to do the competitions with the canines?
Yeah,
there?
it was the canine competition, yep. So they still hold that. I'm not sure exactly where they hold them now, but we're involved with a group out of Hartford that is involved with the Dream Ride, so Hometown Foundation, and they do a competition every August, and it's in support of autism and special needs children's.
So, do you know the date of that? Do you want to just spill what that is,
I
or
don't,
just tell us the name? People can
Yeah,
Google
so
it.
it's called the Dream Ride.
The Dream Ride,
and it's
okay.
the Canine Expo. Friday is when they have. I don't remember the actual physical dates, but
But it's in August, you said.
it's in August. The Friday is usually when we hold a full day training for canine units that are going to participate in the competition on Saturday. They usually have a car show as well, and it's just a big gathering to bring the community in to help support autism special needs as well.
That's great. That's great. So I never became a veterinarian, but I became a music therapist, and so I spend time
Yep.
with people with special needs frequently. And we have a little something in common there.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know if you can still hear the dogs in the background, but what are they so upset about here?
I think they're upset because usually they're getting trained at this time of the day.
Oh, and they're
So
not outside to play,
yeah, and
huh?
we utilize their food for their training. So right now I'm sure they're sitting back there stewing about when they're getting their food this morning. You know, we use a lot of their meals to train them. And for me, I feel like you bring a lot more out of the dog than just treat training. A lot of clients that come in, bring their bags in, their food pouches in, and their food pouches usually filled with some sort of treat. What I like to call treat training is dessert training.
So what is that? What does that look like? What is it?
So treat training is going to be your typical treats that you would buy.
So I
Like
don't need, let's say nobody knows what those are. What are they? What are the typical treats for dogs?
you would usually have like small like milk bones
Okay.
or moistened meaties from Purina. Anything that's like small freeze dried stuff. I'm not very keen on the brand names, and I don't know all of them, but that's typically what treats look like, or some sort of dried meat. So when clients come in and I see the treat pouch, it's usually filled with treats. My thing is that we don't like dessert training, even though like for me, I love my dessert and I'll
So
always
what's
eat my
dessert?
dessert.
What's dessert for a dog?
So the reason why I call it dessert training is
Yeah,
because most people feed their dogs out of their food bowl, right? So if you fed your dogs out of your food bowl once or twice a day, depending on what your dog needs to eat, when you come in and you have a food pouch and your dog has already eaten, but it's filled with treats, now you are giving a secondary meal or third
Like
meal
second
to your
breakfast
dog.
kind of thing?
Exactly. So like you're giving your dog a dessert, and usually most of these
Oh,
treats are filled with stuff that the dog shouldn't
bad
be
stuff.
having. Yeah, and there's a lot of good stuff out there. There's a lot of good treats that you can utilize. But for me, I would rather build value in the dog's food because he knows the meal is going to be coming. Personally, I only feed my dogs once a day. There's a lot of articles out there that talk
Interesting.
about the benefits of feeding once a day, and it talks about the genetic instincts in dogs being predators and how predators only may eat once every 3 days.
Sure.
And utilizing that to show the dog that there's a lot of value in me, number one, because I control the food source, but number two, it's the dietary system, the digestion system. I don't think dogs are meant to eat like humans do, twice or three times a day with a set meal plan. When I switched over from doing the twice a day to once a day, I definitely saw a difference in my dog's attitudes, comfort, all that stuff, because it is hard for dogs to digest the kibble as well.
Oh, really?
Going back to that conversation of kibble versus raw meat, the raw meat, what I had found was they digested a lot quicker. Their poops were a lot smaller, a lot less than what they were doing with kibble. What I found with kibble was that their poops would increase. They seem to be a little bit more under distress because it's hard for them to digest it. And that's why we started feeding a Nook Shunk as well, because it's a very dense kibble. It allows us to only feed the dogs once a day, the amount that they need for that one day. And I also found that their poops were a lot smaller than using other brand foods.
Ah, all right. So if people have dogs out there that they want to have trained, what kind of training services do you provide?
So we provide everything from private lessons, which we sell in packages, and then we have a board and train option. The board and train option is going to be very dependent on what your dogs and your needs are. We tailor the program specific to what issues you're having. And that's usually the first thing that I converse about on the phone is what brought you to calling us. People typically don't just go to Google and look for dog training unless there had been an issue that day or that week.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on them at the beginning, but what are some of the common issues that just like regular
I would say
trainers have them?
Yeah, I would say that our common issue that we see is going to be reactivity and leash pulling. I would say a lot of people misread reactivity as aggression, where reactivity can be a form of many different things like fearfulness or
Define define what that means and tell us visually what that looks like.
So reactivity would be when the dog shows a reaction to a certain situation or environment. So for instance, if we're sitting in our facility right now, a reactive dog that we would assess would come through the door, whether it's reactive towards humans or other dogs, we would see that forward pull on the leash or backing up away off the leash and barking. Some sort of change in behavior. Reactivity can also be nonverbal too. So the dog might not bark, but might show anxiety. And anxiety, just like in humans, the dog might pace, might pant, might jump on the
Cower,
human.
would they
Cower, yeah. But a lot of the times the anxiety is kind of built off of the human. So when and it's just natural. I'm bad at it with myself with my dogs. A lot of times when a dog shows a change in behavior, us as humans become helicopter parents and engage with the dog, and then over time it becomes a marked behavior. So if we have a dog that's anxious and jumps on the human, it's usually because the human had saved the dog out of that fearfulness or the anxiety by picking them up, touching them, consoling them. So now the dog immediately thinks that that's what happens every time I feel like this is uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yep. So when you do these training sessions, the owner comes with them, or you drop, or they stop, drop, and roll. They drop the dog off.
The
Or?
private lessons, usually the owners are here, and with the private lessons, it's 75% of us teaching the human and 25% of us actually handling the dog. Because with the private
Okay.
lessons, it's more or less about us teaching the human how to teach the dog. Private lessons for us, I wouldn't recommend them for people having behavior modifications or needing behavior modifications.
And when you say behavior modifications, those mean what? Like,
So anything that has to do with changing a behavior. So, and the behavior could be anything. It could be that barking. It could be the growling. It could be pulling on the leash. So anything that needs a change in behavior due to some sort of fear, confidence problem, aggression, typically we would recommend the board and train route, which is where the dog gets dropped off for a period of time. We do offer private lessons while the dog is with us. So we recommend that the owner comes out at least once a week to get the training that the dog had received
sense.
for the week.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, at the end of a 4 or 6 week program, you can imagine what the dog has learned in 4 or 6 weeks. Now, if you have to try to cram it in a 1 or 2 hour session at the end, it's a lot of information for the human to absorb. So for us, we found that it's a lot easier if we split it up the 4 or 6 weeks, that the human comes out 4 or 6 times and learns along the way with the dog.
do you ever have like doggy failures? Like certain dogs, like they'll never get it.
So
Kinda.
we've only had, and this is like, I've been doing this for 5 years.
Okay,
at
so
this
you have a
point.
lot of experience.
Yeah, and we train anywhere between 400 to 500 dogs a year.
Really?
Yeah.
In this facility right here
Yeah.
near that breakfast place,
Yep.
over 500
Yeah,
dogs?
we will see over 500 dogs
That's
a year.
astounding. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's between board and trains and private
Wow.
lessons.
Okay, so I interrupted what you said.
No, you're good.
Okay.
So yeah, well, I mean, I forget where our question was.
The doggy failures, the ones that like just
Oh
can't
yeah,
get
so
it,
the
you know.
the one dog that we had, and this was very
Only
recent.
one
Only
in
one.
all of this time.
Yeah, and I would say it's not that the dogs were being successful. It's the other dogs that we might say are hard to deal with. We just got to find a different path for them. The one thing I hang my hat on is that we're not like a one style training facility. We try to find what the dog needs and work with it. Whereas a lot of other training facilities are, this is how we train the dogs. This is how every dog gets trained. And just like humans, every dog is not made equal. So
Right,
every
right.
dog needs a different style of training. Every dog back there right now, there's 20 dogs back there. Not one dog back there is getting
Do I get
trained
to
the
see
same.
them?
We can show them to you. But not one dog is being trained the same. So, and that's for many reasons. We have puppies back there. We have adults, dogs that are aggressive. So every dog gets a different training style. But we've had one dog that, it was a local dog, a lot of fear-based anxiety. The human wasn't giving them what the dog needed. It was a stock guardian dog living in a house without any livestock in the backyard. So that's my one red flag, you know what I mean, is the human not giving the dog genetically what it needs to be successful.
Yeah.
And then it's creating anxiety because the dog can't do the job it's bred to do. We got the dog here, and within one day I had to call the owner and say, pick the dog up, because it was getting himself in a position where he was going to harm himself. And I'm not willing to push a dog for training purposes
Right.
while the dog is basically ripping a hole in the kennel because he wants to get
Yeah.
out because of anxiety. So, unfortunately, that was that one case. We haven't had an issue like that prior to that or since that. And, I think every dog every dog needs a certain level of training at every life stage too. And as a human, dogs aren't born with anxiety. They aren't born with that type of aggression. It's human made, and by one way or another, unintentionally or intentionally.
Wow, I have so many questions in so little time. So, hey, this is Ruth Hartunian Alba. I am here with Jeremy Cormier from, say the name,
V3 Gun Dogs and Canine Academy,
located on.
42 Natrog Street, Willimantic.
Check them out. I'm going to sign off now on Good Company, WILI.